since I've done this, so I've got to remember all my different moves in Zoom here. Do a quick share screen here. And I am going to zip out and hit the syllabus. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me pop out of there and head over into my files, and let's grab the syllabus. Okay, everybody see it okay?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Now, again, I just want to also mention that one thing, since I'm really working from one screen and I'm usually off the main Zoom screen here, is that in many situations, I'm not tracking the discussions you guys are having. So oftentimes there's a chat function on Zoom that you guys use. I'm usually not watching that. So if a question does pop up, or something's popping up in the chat that I'm not seeing that needs to be brought to my attention, or if there's anything you guys want to ask, feel free to unmute and ask me. So I'll try to make sure that I'm pausing enough that you can do that. I want us to be as interactive as possible. So certainly feel free to talk to me. You know, I want that to happen. That's okay. This is meant to be a discussion. It's not just me talking at you guys the whole time. That gets boring for me. I'm sure it gets boring for you. So feel free to stop me at any point. It's fine to chime in. I don't mind that at all. Okay. And that's true for the syllabus. If there's a question along the way, and again, I'll try to pause from time to time to make sure you guys have time to ask me about things. But I just want to go over sort of the ground rules here and just what the expectations look like and kind of what a typical day in the class is going to look like for us. Okay, so as you guys know, it's a virtual course. Everybody has the Zoom invite. I think I sent that out to everybody. And the Zoom link is there. So if you should ever be in a situation where you need it, the link is on the syllabus. You can grab it, paste it, go. Okay, so all my information is there as the instructor. My office number is there. I think it's, I didn't change the 325. I'll change that and update it. It's 303. I'm down at the end of the hall, but almost nobody's going to be on campus looking for me anyway. 325 is the chair's office. I used to be department chair, so that's why that looks like that. Phone number's good. But again, I'm hardly ever in there. The best way to reach me is at email. So you got my email address there. I know I changed that FSC number on my other syllabi. I missed it on this one for some reason. All right. Office hours are going to be all virtual. Sometimes I'll be doing them from the university. Sometimes I'll be doing them from here at home, just kind of depending on where I am and what I'm doing. But what I'll do is I'll log into Zoom over those hours. And you're free to come at that point with the links that I give you there to come in and talk to me, ask me questions, whatever you need. It's just a standard office hour. So I may be running around, but I'll always have my tablet with me. So I'm happy to deal with that. So I might be down prepping a lab or something like that, or doing research or whatever, but you know, I will have this open. You know, you want to talk to me, that's perfectly okay. So it's an office hour. I'll drop what I'm doing if I'm doing anything, and we'll deal with whatever questions or concerns you might have. And please make a note that there's a different link for each day. Okay, so make sure you're using the right link with the right day. All right, as far as text goes, the good news here is the text doesn't cost you anything. It's an OpenStax book, which it's actually a really decent textbook. It's available as a free PDF. You can go to the openstax.org website and grab it, and I tell you which one to get. Don't get the Adams First one, or I give you a link here, and that takes you right to it. The other thing to keep in mind is some people just absolutely must have a hard copy. So I think the bookstore keeps a few of those around, and I think they're $50. If you want to have a hard copy, you have the option to do that. But I can't say I know of anybody who has one. I think there are also a few hard copies running around the department too, up in the resource room. As far as required supplies go, obviously something to write with, a notebook to take notes in, your PDF text when you need it. And you want to have a calculator. I mean, there's just no doubt about that. We're going to do a lot of problem solving in the class, so you want to be able to have a calculator. As far as objective goes, what we're doing here is to basically introduce you to the fundamentals of chemistry and also get you ready for the next course, because many of you have to progress on to the chemical dynamics course. I know some folks in engineering and in other areas, this is kind of the terminal course for you guys, and that's fine. But basically, we want to give you enough of a basic understanding of chemistry to be, I won't say proficient in it, but at least knowledgeable in whatever direction you head off to do, okay? The other thing is, what do you need to get into the course? And I think everybody's aware of the placement exam, the ALEX exam. You guys have been getting weekly or biweekly reminders about that from the department office. I've sent a few things out about it. So most people are done with it. There's still a few folks working on it, and that's fine. But looks like most of you guys have hit that 80% mastery score that you have to hit to get into the course. If you haven't done that yet, make sure you either start it or continue it. And you've got till 11:59 on Tuesday the 9th. That's next Tuesday to get it done. Okay. And departmental policy says that that is the primary prerequisite for the course. If you don't get it passed by that time, then you can't be in the course, and the registrar automatically drops you from the course. And again, that's not my policy, that's departmental policy. So, you know, there's really no way to get around it. You got to do it. All right. And like I said, most folks have already taken care of that, so it's out of the way for many of you. Other prerequisites are Math 175, which is pre-calc. So you need to either be in pre-calc or have taken pre-calc prior to being in the course. Again, that's just making sure that your math skills are kind of up for par for the kinds of work we're going to be doing here. It's not terribly hard math, but there's enough algebra and such involved in it that it can bog students down if they're at a lower math level. The other thing that isn't really stated here is that it's very, very, very helpful if you had some variation of high school chemistry, which I think most folks have. It's a rare person that comes into the class without it who actually does well. So be aware of that as well. Some folks have, and they have to do a lot of remediation, but it works out for them. All right, that's not one that we can really put the law of the land down on. Okay, everybody okay so far?
Yep.
All right, awesome. Thank you. All right, the next thing to keep in mind is part of the backbone of the course is this Chem 101 app. Okay, and I think I mentioned that in the email that I sent out to you. It's going to be sort of the basic platform for any and all problem solving we're going to do in the class. So it's a problem-based app. Actually, it's very accessible. It's got a large range of problems. It's really, really nice to use. And I even actually started using it back before we went virtual. I've been using it actually for a few years now. So even in my in-class face-to-face, we use Chem 101, not as extensively as we do virtually, but we do it mainly for practice work in class and also homework. So it's a really nice platform for doing that. Okay, it's relatively inexpensive. I think it's $25. It's right around in there. I think I already looked and some of you guys have already gone in and bought it. And I believe you do get a grace period to sign up for it. So for example, if you get into the class and you say, oh, wow, this isn't for me, and you end up dropping the class in the first week or two, I don't think you have to buy into Chem 101. Okay, so they give you some time to make sure this is for you before you have to go in and commit your money. We're going to use it for basically three things. We're going to use it for graded homework. We're going to be using it for in-class practice, which we're going to do kind of together as a group. And we're also going to use it for in-class quizzes. So essentially any problem solving we're doing in the class is going to utilize Chem 101. Okay. And the important thing here is that all quizzes that we're going to do, and we're going to have daily quizzes in here, are going to use that platform. Okay. So we'll get back to that a little bit later. Now you can access your Chem 101 from pretty much any electronic device, any smart device, from a desktop computer to a laptop to a tablet to your smartphone. Okay, so that's pretty much everybody has one of those things, if not multiple of them. Now, if you're using a desktop or a laptop, you have to make sure you've got an appropriate browser. Firefox works well, Google Chrome works well. For example, I'm a Mac guy and I usually use Safari. It doesn't like Safari for some reason. So I went and grabbed, free Firefox. And whenever I do Chem 101, I fire it up on Firefox. Okay, so it was just a simple free download that I did to get the right browser on there so I could access it. But generally, it's very, very accessible, very easy to use, much, much nicer than Alex, quite frankly. Okay. And I think I sent and also put over at D2L the instructions you need to download and get started with CHM121. And like I said, I was in there yesterday and a bunch of you guys had already signed up for it and you're on. So that's great. Okay. The other nice thing is that the CHM101 links directly to the OpenStax textbook that you're going to have. So this is really cool, actually. When you're doing like in-class work or you're doing graded homework, if you're having trouble with something, there's a link down there that you can click that takes you right to the textbook. And the nice thing about it is it takes you right to the section and almost the page of the textbook that corresponds to the material you need to know for that problem. So you don't even have to look it up. It takes you right there. It's really a very nice thing to have. So make sure you take advantage of that. And it's also another way to access your textbook as well. Now, the next thing is that we're going to be also utilizing some class videos. So you do a little bit of out of class time, not a whole lot, to sort of get ready for a daily class meeting. And what this means is that my class is what we call a partially flipped classroom. So the idea is that there's some out of class video stuff you're going to do. So I actually have a YouTube channel. And I have instructions down there a little bit lower as to how to get to it. And actually have a link there to take you right to it so you can bookmark it and go. But essentially, before you come to class every day, I'm going to have a video. It might be anywhere from, say, 8 to 12 or 14 minutes, no longer than that. So it's a short video that's essentially going to get you ready for whatever topic we're going to be exploring in class that day. All right, so essentially it's going to lay out the terminology. It's going to throw out some basic concepts and maybe show you a simple example problem that'll lead into what we want to do in class. So the idea there is I want to be able to use the in-class time to apply those concepts, okay? I don't like to spend class time writing definitions down, for example. I mean, you can go do that on your own. So that's the nice thing about the video. I can cover all that in advance, get it in your heads, then bring you to class and you can start to actually apply it to something. And applying in chemistry usually means problem solving. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not gonna do any lecturing. I will actually introduce some topics from time to time to build on the video, and then we'll do some problem solving. But the video is there to essentially get the basics out of the way so that we can actually really use the class time that we have efficiently to really delve into the material we want to get into, okay? So again, there are directions for how to access those videos down a little bit lower. And again, we'll go over at the end of this what Monday is going to look like. So you know exactly what the game plan for Monday is when you come in, exactly what to expect. Okay, so we'll get to that in just a little bit. Now, as far as dealing with the videos, it's really kind of a part of the lecture. So I give you some tips here for how to get the most out of them. I mean, obviously you want to be in a quiet place with as few distractions as possible. You know, try to keep your phone and other devices off so that you can pay full attention to the video. And again, I'm really only asking you for 8 to 14 minutes. So it's something you could do before you go to bed the night before, for example. And the nice thing about it, because it's a video, is you can watch it as many times as you like. So you may want to watch the video one time just to get an idea of what the basic concepts of the topic are about. And then you might want to let that percolate a little bit and then come back the next day or a little bit later and then watch it again and take some notes on it, just like you would in class. So that's always a good thing to do. Again, you can stop a video at any point, rewind it, whatever you want to do. That's the nice thing about it being a video. Watch it as many times as you want. And probably the main thing is you don't want to wait till just before class to watch the video for the very first time. Now, I know some people like to watch it again right before class because it sort of says, okay, here's my last minute review, getting ready to go into class. That's perfectly okay. But I wouldn't recommend watching the video 10 minutes before you come to class for the first time because then you haven't had time to really think on it and let it percolate. Again, those are just some basic guidelines that you might want to follow, and you'll kind of figure out what works best for you as you do it a few times. Okay. And then item number 5, and that's really important, is you're going to get quizzed daily on the content of the video. So that's why you kind of want to know what's there. Okay, so that's part of the daily quiz that you're going to have. Now, I give you the information for how to access. You can do it one of 2 ways. You can just go to YouTube and search my channel, which is called Ship Gen Chem. Don't ask how I figured that out. And then from there, you can navigate into the playlist, which is called Chemical Bonding. You'll find it there. Or you can take the link. The link takes you right to my channel. And again, you'll see the chem bonding playlist there, so you can bookmark that if you wish. Okay. And then one other thing is, every time we have a class meeting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record those class meetings and I'm going to archive them. So I have another folder there that I think is Chem Bonding Spring 2021. So you can differentiate it from the general Chem Bonding one. And that's where the daily class meetings are going to go. Okay. Now, the nice thing about that is you can go back and review the lectures. So whatever, for example, lecturing we're doing in there, discussion we're doing in there, whatever problem solving we're doing in there, you can go back and review that anytime you want. Now, I will make this suggestion. You know, you're going to get the most out of the class by actually being here in real time so that we can have that real time discussion. The other thing is that we're going to be doing in-class practicing with Chem 101. And again, that's a nice thing to be able to do in real time, because I open those assignments up during the class period and we work on them kind of together, and then we can come back around and talk about them. So if you have questions or concerns or something's not making sense, you've got me right there to ask. You also can interact with your classmates through the chat or through discussion if you want to. So, you know, one thing I would suggest you not do is basically show up, take the quiz, and bug out, okay? Because then you just don't get to take advantage of everything that the course has to offer. So I don't mean for the archived videos to be a place where you can say, well, I'm going to go back to sleep after the quiz, and maybe at 10 o'clock tonight, I'll go back and watch the video. You can do that, but it's just not going to be that effective, okay? And I can't keep you from doing that. So my suggestion is come to class, because you're going to get the most out of it that way. All right, so as far as this course schedule goes, I've laid that out there. By week, there's the chapter in the OpenStax textbook that we're going to be trying to cover. And we're not going to cover every section within every chapter. So I tried to pare down the sections that we're actually going to be spending time with. Okay, so for those of you who like to read the book, those are the sections that you want to cover and look at, okay, by week and by chapter. Now, this may vary a little bit. Sometimes we might slow down, sometimes we might speed up, but everything's sequential, so you can always sort of tell where you are. Okay, any questions so far? Is everybody doing okay? All right, hearing none, I will cruise on through. All right, so quizzes. And we'll get down to where all your grades come from here in just a little bit, but let's talk about quizzes first. As I mentioned to you, we're going to have a quiz every single day, okay? And there's 2 kinds of quizzes, depending on the day. On a Monday or a Wednesday, you're going to have what's called a 5 for 5 quiz. Now, this is just a little checkup quiz. It's a 5-minute quiz. It's not meant to take up a lot of class time. And the purpose of the 5 for 5 quiz is twofold. It's to first make sure that you're watching the videos and getting something out of them. So there will be some question or two affiliated with what's on the video for that day, okay? And then the other part of the 5 for 5 quiz, which I could utilize, is going back and looking at what was happening in the prior class period, okay? So for example, if you've got a Wednesday 5 for 5 quiz, okay, you're looking at the Wednesday video, that could be on there, but you're also going back and looking at what we did on Monday. Okay, so whatever we did on Monday is fair game for quiz on Wednesday. Okay, likewise, whatever we cover on a Friday is fair game for a Monday quiz. Okay, so it's the day before plus the video for that day. Is that okay? Everybody got that down? And again, you're going to figure it out real quick. You know, it's going to become very lockstep obvious to you after a few iterations of it. You know, that's one thing. I don't try to trick anybody. You know, I'm pretty easy to read when you get right down to it. I'm very much, governed by mechanization, as most chemists are. So once you get into the clip of things and the way I do them, I'm pretty easy to figure out. I don't pull punches on you guys. All right, then there's the Friday quiz. The name is self-explanatory. Now that's a bigger quiz. Okay, so the 5 for 5 is a 5-point quiz. The Friday quiz is a 20-point quiz. That's kind of like a mini exam. So one thing I will mention is that you're not going to get any big exams during the semester. I found with the virtual bonding, I started doing this last spring when we had to go virtual, and it ended up working well. And I did it last semester, and I think the students really liked it and got more out of it, is that we're better off distributing the points in the class around a whole bunch of little daily exercises and quizzes, as opposed to trying to lump them into maybe 3 really big exercises. The 3 really big exercises tend to really freak people out. It tends to scare students a little bit and get people nervous. So if we can kind of distribute those points all the way around through the course, without any huge ones, you do have a final at the end, but through this course of the semester, if we're basically doing this with quizzes, students tend to be a little less anxious about it. Okay, so that's generally what I found. So that's what we're going to do. Now, when we go back to face-to-face, I'll go back to big exams again. But for now, this seems to work really well, and it works well with the Chem 101. Okay, now what's on a Friday quiz? Well, a Friday quiz could have a question about whatever the video for Friday is. That's a normal thing. But more importantly, you're going to have questions from whatever we have done in the prior week. Okay, in other words, Friday through Wednesday. Okay, so basically it's going to span whatever information we cover from Friday lecture up through the following Wednesday, because obviously that's the last time I see you before Friday. So it's a week's worth of material, basically. So think of it as like a miniature exam, if you will. And what that means is that I can ask you a little bit more sophisticated questions. They'll still be Chem 101 questions. They're still going to look a lot like the Chem 101 homework that I'm assigning to you. Okay, but they can be just at a little bit different level, more of an exam type level. Okay, because that's really my chance to examine you there. Okay, and another really important thing to keep in mind here is that I don't do any makeup quizzes, and that's again sort of a standard departmental policy. As far as quizzes go, and I'll go ahead and lay this out right now, and again, it'll become lockstep for you guys once you figure it out, and there's really nothing to figure out because I'm going to tell you right now, is as far as quizzes go, I open the quiz at noon. I mean, actually Chem 101 does it. I don't do it. It's all done through Chem 101. As soon as noon hits on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, the quiz opens. So as soon as it opens, you can jump on. I give you a 2-minute window to get on. So you've got any time between noon and 12:02 to hop on. Okay, so be there like a hawk, ready to jump on it, pounce. Okay, because what happens if you get to 12:03, you can't get in. Chem 101 locks you out. Okay, so you've got 2 minutes to make sure you get on. Now, once you get on, you've got the same amount of time as everybody else to work the quiz. Okay, so if it's a 5-minute quiz, if you get on at noon, you got 5 minutes. If you get on at 12:02, you still get 5 minutes. Okay, and again, that'll become pretty much lockstep for you guys. You'll figure that out real quick. Okay, but that's the main thing. Don't hover around. Make sure you're in a good Wi-Fi hotspot, and make sure you're ready to jump on right at noon as soon as it opens. You have a little bit of time there, but you go past 12:02, you're late. And the equivalent is this: if I'm doing a face-to-face class and I hand out a quiz and somebody walks in late, they don't get to take it. Okay, that's just the policy we've always had as a department. So it's the same thing. It's really the very same as we would have as a face-to-face policy. And we don't do makeups on quizzes either. Now, don't freak out. If you end up being sick or you can't get on or whatever the case may be, and you end up having to miss a quiz, and they're a lot harder to miss now because you don't have to physically be in a classroom. You can be pretty much wherever you got Wi-Fi in your device, you can take the quiz. But our policy as a department is we just don't do makeup quizzes. So again, make sure you're there. Now, the other thing is that if you do happen to miss 1 or 2, remember, you're getting a quiz every day, so it's probably not going to be a huge deal. The other thing is I do also give an extra Friday quiz just in case you do happen to miss one. So you'll get an extra credit Friday quiz toward the end of the course. Matter of fact, I think last semester I might have even done one at the midterm too. So I kind of just sort of gauge how the class is doing and then decide whether we need an extra one or not. So that's more or less how we do it. Any questions about the quizzes? And again, it's going to become, I think, very routine for you once we get through like a week of this, because it's pretty much the same thing every day. Any questions though at this point? Okay, good. Now about Chem 101. So the nice thing is I've had, last semester, and actually I was doing this some in my summer course as well. I was really experimenting hard with using Chem 101 as my platform for graded work. Okay, so for homework, no big deal. Basically, I open up a homework, I leave it open for the whole semester. You do it when you get around to doing it. Okay, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But as far as quizzes go, quizzes are a little bit more stringent. So you really have to know Chem 101 in order to do well on the quizzes, okay? So here's the basic situation with everything in mind, but quizzes specifically, all right? If you're doing Chem 101, for example, in just for classroom practice, which we'll do every day, or you're doing the homework, I give you like multiple attempts, okay? And it's really helpful because if you get something wrong, Chem 101 kind of points you to your error and you get to go back and correct it, okay? So it does one of two things. It kind of helps you find your errors and correct them, but it also kind of tells you what level of detail or pickiness Chem 101 wants, okay? So let me give you an example of this. You get to the point where you have to, for example, write and balance chemical reactions. Chem 101 gets really picky about putting the state of the chemical reactant in there, whether it's aqueous or solid or gas or whatever. And if you don't do that, Chem 101 is going to mark it wrong. Okay, they're picky about it. It's just how it is. So when you're practicing, Chem 101 will tell you, oh yeah, you have O2 there, but you forgot to put the state. So then you go back, oh yeah, okay, I'll go back and say it's a gas, and then Chem 101 says, okay, you got it. But here's the deal. On a quiz, you don't get that large S. On a quiz, you get one chance, and it doesn't give you feedback until you finish the quiz. Okay, so you got to make sure your answer is right, and you got to make sure that it's in cahoots with what Chem 101 wants. All right, so this is why the practice part is so important. Because like I said, the quiz problems are going to look just like the homework problems. They're going to look just like the in-class practice problems. There's only so many ways we can kind of restate those things. That's the dirty little secret I'm letting you guys in on right now, okay, is that the quiz problems are going to look like the homework problems. They're going to look like the in-class exercises. So that's where you practice and you kind of figure out how to do this, and you figure out how to give Chem 101 what it wants. Okay, if you don't give Chem 101 what it wants, it will not give you credit on the quizzes. So that's why the practice is so important. With that in mind, within quizzes, keep in mind, Chem 101 doesn't offer partial credit. It just doesn't do it. Okay, so that means you need to get the problem completely correct as defined by Chem 101 to receive credit. That's why we practice, okay? Now, again, this is all based on stuff that came up in the last 2 semesters where students got a little bit, let's just say, agitated from time to time. And somebody would say, but I missed all that credit on that problem because I didn't put the state of the thing in there, and I didn't know I had to do that. Well, if you'd practiced, you'd know how that Chem 101 wants you to do that, okay? So I'd go back and check that student, and I would see that, oh, and I have a record of what everybody does on Chem 101. And I'd go back and look at that student record and see that that student hadn't taken part in any of the in-class practice exercises and had not done any of the homework. So they didn't know that Chem 101 required the states. And then they got angry at me for it, okay? So practice, guys, that's something I have no control over, okay? So that's just how it is. All right, so again, part 2 leads into part 1. Achieving the goal in part 1 means that you need to know Chem 101 and how it works, okay? So that's why we practice. We got lots of opportunities to get the practice that we need. So we have in-class practice problems and lots of homework, okay? As I mentioned, Chem 101 can be picky about how you put things in. And again, the practice will give you the feedback. Chem 101 is essentially training you to give it what it wants, okay? And that way, when you hit the quiz, you know exactly what Chem 101 is looking for. So you won't make those mistakes. You can maximize your points. All right. And again, I'll tell you, this is again stuff that came up as bones of contention in semesters where I've attempted to do this. So I like to get this right up front. Okay. As far as the timing for quizzes goes, I get to set that. Okay. Now, what happens is if I set a quiz up, Chem 101, based on the problems, will tell me, okay, for a well-prepared student, it will take, let's say, 3.5 minutes to take this quiz. All right. So what I do is I add some time to that. Okay. So I might do time and a half. So I'll figure out what half of 3.5 is, and I'll add that to the total time. Because sometimes I think that Chem 101's time limits are a little bit harsh. So I generally add time and a half. Okay, so I don't want to give you so much time. Okay, and I'll tell you why. What happens is people like to try to, I don't want to say cheat, but people try to get around the questions without actually working them. And if I give you lots and lots and lots of time, there's more opportunity for people to try to determine answers in a dishonest way. Okay, I want you to work the problems. That's the point of all of this, to see what you can do. So, I've been in discussion with Chem 101 about this, and basically what they say is you got to be strict about the time limits, because if you keep them to a reasonable time where the students can work the problems, there's going to be a lot less likelihood of dishonesty going on there, because you're not going to have time to go out and search out an answer and try to get it figured out. Okay. Now, also, there's this thing called CHM out there that I'm sure you guys are familiar with. Okay, you can get a membership to this thing, and basically you can go out and look in their archives and try to find solutions to problems in textbooks and apps and things like this. So I've talked to Chem 101 about that as well, and they're very well aware of the whole CHM issue. And basically what they do is a weekly sweep of CHM, and if they find anything on the archive, their stuff is copyrighted, CHM takes it down. They have to. I also have access to CHM. I have a CHM account. And when I write a quiz, more often than not, I'll go out and vet it myself and make sure the answers aren't out on CHM. If I see one that's out there, I change it. So basically, I try to stay about a step ahead of this kind of thing. All right. And again, I don't want to put certain students at an advantage over other students. And I also want you to learn chemistry. That's the whole point of the course. Okay. So that's how I do timing. I basically do time and a half. They give me a time. They say you should be able to do the quiz in this amount of time. I'll give you that time plus half. Okay. Now, one other thing is if you do have an accommodation through the accessibilities office, let me know about that, because sometimes you can get double the time, and I can actually get into Chem 101 and make that happen if that's the situation. Okay. So make sure you tell me about that. All right. So that's the basic idea. I just want to get that out of the way because, again, these were things that have come up in prior semesters, and I just want to get this out of the way right up front. This is how we do it. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay, good. Homework we talked about a little bit. It's also in Chem 101. Basically what I do is I open up the homework about the time we start a chapter, and I leave it open till the last week of the semester. So that means you have time to do it throughout the semester. Now, my suggestion is this. You don't have to do all the homework until the end, but if you're working on a certain topic, find the problems in the homework. Like I said, the chapter 1 ones are open right now on Chem 101. You can go look at them right now. Obviously, we haven't started the course, but you're going to have a video on sig figs to go look at. And you may want to go and practice some sig fig problems based on that video. Go to the Chem 101 homework, chapter 1. It's open. Find a few sig fig problems and work them. They're there. Okay. So that's part of the practice. Now, again, you don't have to do them all. It really kind of depends on the student. What I would probably do is do most of them during the course of the chapter, and then maybe leave a few to the end to get ready for the final exam. So it's kind of nice to be able to go back and revisit and do some of those homework problems to kind of pull the course together at the very end. So, I don't get upset at you if you don't do the homework in its entirety while we're in a chapter. But you need to kind of keep on top of some of it. Again, the reason for that is so you can be aware of what Chem 101 wants. Okay. And that's how you're going to find out, because you do the homework and Chem 101 gives you the feedback. Okay. So that's why the homework is so important. And again, my dirty little secret, the problems you're going to see on the quiz are a lot like the problems you're going to see in the homework. All right. Finally, grading. Where do your points come from, guys? So Friday quizzes, that's probably your biggest chunk, 200 points. So remember, those are like mini exams that you have. Okay, then we have the 5 for 5 quizzes. Those will total out to 100 points. The Chem 101 graded homework, that totals out to 100 points. And you have a 100-point final exam that will be administered in Chem 101 during the exam week. Add that up, you get 500 points. So that's the total number of points you can get in the course. Unless I throw an extra quiz in there or something like that, which I normally would do. Like I said, I'm going to try to give you like an extra Friday quiz to compensate for one that, say, you don't do well on or you miss or something like that. Okay. Then based upon your point total, I'm going to calculate a percentage. In other words, I'll take your point total, I'll divide it by 500, turn it into a percent. And based on that, I can guarantee you these grades, A, B, C, D, or F, based upon what percentage of the points you get. Okay. Matter of fact, I think Chem 101 automatically gives you your score on every quiz. So you could actually keep your data in your own spreadsheet and calculate your percentage at any time and see how you're doing. So again, very simple calculation to do. Then at the end, there's the Title IX language, which we're required to put in here, and that deals with sexual harassment and how to report it and this kind of thing, if you happen to observe it or be a victim of it. So that's something we're required to put in our syllabi, so it's here for your edification and benefit, though I won't go over it. All right, so that's the syllabus, guys. Any general questions about it before I kind of get into a couple other little things? Everybody okay so far? Okay,
Yep.
sounds all right. Awesome. Sounds good. One other thing that I'm sort of required to do, I'm going to get out of the syllabus here for a second, go back into my files. I've got this little PowerPoint thingy I'm supposed to show you regarding the ALEKS. And this is, again, just something that we have to do. All right. So just go up to the top. When you sort of look at your ALEKS report sheet, and this is what you see as you go, what you have to remind yourself is that the mastered is what matters. So if you look in the box there, you see the mastered, which shows a 79 there. Okay, so this particular student has not so-called passed ALEKS because they haven't hit the 80%. A lot of students sometimes will look at the number in the middle of the circle, which says 93. Well, I think that just is the number of topics that you've addressed, but it's not the number of topics that you've mastered. So it's the mastery score that matters. It's that 79 down at the bottom. So this student still has a little bit to go. Okay, so like I said, that number in the middle is meaningless. Don't pay attention to it. The number you'll want to watch is the one down there at the bottom left. So again, for those of you who are still working on the ALEKS, be aware of this. Okay, it's the mastered number you're at, and that number needs to be 80 to make you eligible to get into the course. Again, most of you have this out of the way already, but folks who are still working on it, this is what you need to be aware of. Okay, I don't think there are any questions about that. If there are, just let me know. It's pretty straightforward, but I'm kind of required to tell you that because, again, we've had situations in the past where the students didn't understand what the numbers meant. All right, so the last thing I kind of want to do is just give you a overall view of what Monday is going to look like. So Monday is going to be our first real let's get down to business, do chemistry day. Okay, so what's Monday going to look like? What do you need to do to get prepared for it? All right, so here's the deal. You got a video to go watch. Okay, so the video is going to be on significant figures. So you're going to go to the chem bonding playlist prior to Monday or prior to class on Monday, and you're going to go find that sig fig video. This video number 1, and they go sequentially. Okay, so make sure you watch it, take notes on it. You can go to the textbook and read up on that section if you wish. And I encourage you also to go into the chapter 1 homework if you want to and work a couple problems in the sig fig problems. You might have to run around through there. I don't think they pop up right at the top. There are a few down, but find them and work them just to make sure. It also gets you used to how Chem 101 works. Okay.
And
these are,
all your videos are on D2L, right?
yes, sir. They sure. Well, it's not D2L. It's over on YouTube. But the
okay, yeah, YouTube. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, it's YouTube. Yeah, so I think I'm not even sure if you can. I think you can link to things on D2L. I'm not sure you can actually post videos there. I think you can link out to things there. But yeah, the link is there in the syllabus. And I also have the link over at D2L as well. Yeah, but once you're there, bookmark it and you're good to go. But yeah, it's over at YouTube. That's where you go. Good question. Thank you. So make sure you look at that. I would, encourage you to get into Chem 101 and, just try a few of the sig fig problems in the homework and, get used to it. So then when you come in, I'm going to do what I would call a practice quiz. I just kind of want you to get used to what the daily routine is going to look like. So I'm going to put up a quiz on sig figs. Okay, it's in Chem 101. And you'll have the regular 2-minute window to get in, and you'll have whatever time I have in there for you to take it. And it'll be a chance for you to see what it's like. Now, I'm going to go ahead and grade it and look at it and see how you did and who participated and who didn't, but I'm not going to count it. It's a practice quiz, okay? It's a chance for you to just sort of get in and see what the daily routine is going to look like. Okay, so there will be a quiz, but it's not going to count. Does that make sense to everybody? So don't get freaked out. Come in, take it, see how you do, and start acclimatizing to the Chem 101. That's what we want to do. Then, once we're done with the quiz, what we'll do is we're going to start moving into dimensional analysis and problem solving using that, because that builds on knowledge of significant figures. And then once we get to a certain point in the class, we'll then probably do a little bit of in-class practice using Chem 101. And that's a great chance for us to kind of look at it. And if questions kind of pop up about how to use Chem 101 or things that are stymieing you with it, that's a great time for us to kind of talk about that. So that's basically what it's going to look like. And that's true for every class. We basically have 3 things we're going to do in every class: quiz, lecture and problem solving. And then finally, we're going to get in the last 10 to 15 minutes of class, and we'll do some Chem 101 problem solving kind of together. This is where we get to be interactive about it and talk about it and this kind of thing. So it's practice problems. Another thing that comes up, because students always ask me this, is with regard to the in-class practice problems, people always get freaked out if they don't finish them. Not a big deal. If it turns out that I assign 5 problems, you get through 3, that's okay, because they're just for practice. And then people say, does this affect my grade? No, they're just for practice. Okay, so there's no graded component to the in-class practice problems. Okay, so that's just an important thing to remember. And again, feel free to ask me if you forget. I'll just tell you, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it if you don't finish, and don't worry about, any kind of grade being assigned to that. It's just for practice and discussion purposes. So it's where we're going to basically apply whatever it is we did in class that day. Okay, so those are the 3 things we're going to do every single class. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for talking to me too. Like I said, I don't want you to ever feel like you can't stop me and talk to me or ask a question or bring something up. I'll stop what I'm doing and we'll address it. That's perfectly okay in class. I don't mind doing that. If we need to reiterate something, go back over something, talk about a concept or a problem that's causing you trouble, no issues. And by the way, during the lecture part, what I do is I do a screen share out to my notes. And basically what I do is I basically write on my notes just like I would on a chalkboard. So it's a real time writing things down kind of lecture, just like you'd see on a chalkboard. So there's no PowerPoint or anything like that. It's me writing on my notes, and you guys get to see me do it real time and talk to me while I'm doing it. So I try to make this as interactive as possible, as if you guys would be sitting in a classroom with me actually doing this stuff. All right, we're almost out of time here. I can't believe I actually used up 50 minutes on this, but that's perfectly okay. I think we covered a lot of ground today. Any final questions or concerns, guys?
Did you already post the homework on CHM121 because it's not showing up?
I'll go back and check that. I did. I'm glad you checked though. Yeah, look at the chapter 1 homework. I should have posted that. If not, I will go do it right now. I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. Double check again for me. Matter of fact, I can hop into Chem 101 right here and check. I've got it on my desktop. Now that's a good thing to check. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page about that. I'm logging in just in this moment here, just to double check that for you. See where we're at with the homework. Okay, so if I go to the homework tab there, let me hop down to homework number 1 and see what we got. Yeah, it actually starts in 1 hour. I don't know why I set
Okay,
it up
thank
that way.
you.
But yeah, it looks like it's going to open in 1 hour. Okay, and then it's open for the whole rest of the semester. So yes, you should be able to, in an hour, go right to it. I don't know why I didn't set it for earlier, but hey, that's okay. Any other questions, guys? Everybody straight for what we need to do on Monday? And last thing is, if you're still working on the Chem 101, or sorry, the Alex, make sure you're chipping away at that. You've got till 11:59 on Tuesday to get that done. All right. Thank you, guys.
Wait, one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does it let you into the Chem 101 app before you activate the course, or do you have to activate it first?
I know you have to go sign up for it. And I don't know if I gave you the link to go in through the various things to sign up and activate the course, but I don't think it takes your money right away. Is that how it works for you guys? You did it?
Yes.
Yeah, so make sure you go and you find that it's in the syllabus or as an attachment. It's also over at D2L. There's a really easy to follow step-by-step process for how to sign up for the Chem 101. So that's where you want to go if you haven't done it yet.
Okay, thank you.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any others, guys?
I have a question. Will you be having a lab?
Good question. There's the Chem 125 lab that goes with this. And depending on who you are and what your major is, you may or may not need it. Okay. So I think there are 2 sections of it running. I don't teach it,
Okay.
but double check with your advisor or your program and make sure you either need it or don't. If you do need it and you don't have it, make sure you go sign up for it.
Okay.
But yes, there is a lab, but it depends upon who you are in terms of whether you need it or not.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else, guys? All right. Awesome. That being the case, I will see you guys on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. See
Thank
you then,
you.
guys.